Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this Friday for Unlock and Learn episode 9, presented by Hostiva and Better Talent. I am very thrilled to have the CEO, co-founder of Better Talent and many other companies on with me today, Steve. So, if you want to introduce yourself, I think a lot of people know you, but let's get started. Wow.
Yes, sir. So Steve Trover again. I've been in the vacation rental industry for about 28 years now. Started a company here based in Orlando a long time ago, scaled out to 400 properties over 20 years. I had a property management company, a real estate company, an interior design company, and then ultimately a development company called Purpose Built Vacation Homes. Also developed a proprietary PMS platform with a developer that ultimately became a company called LiveRes. I was the chief strategy officer for that company as a part-time job for a period of time. And then I'm the former vice president and president of the Vacation Rental Managers Association going back about a decade ago. More recently, sold a group of companies about 8 years ago, got into consulting, and then launched Better Talent, which helps companies in the industry hire and retain the best people on their teams. Better Talent's about 4.5 years old, and we work with over 300 companies across the country, mostly in vacation rentals and short-term rentals. So that's kind of my career in this space. So
Just a little bit of time in this space. Wasn't born yesterday in here, right?
I started when I was 6. Yeah. So.
It's funny. I always say that for my kids. It started before they were born, so it'll be interesting to see. But today it's people, right? Better talent, people, getting the right people in the right spots, which is just such a amazing thing, right? In any industry, but specifically ours, right? Hospitality, right? So, we're talking about AI today. Why would a talent guy be talking so much about AI when it's said to be replacing jobs?
Yeah, and it certainly is going to do that. And so that's something to concern yourself with if you are talent. We all are, right? And we have jobs and we're doing certain things today, and that's all changing. Some of it's already changed due to artificial intelligence, and it's going to continue to probably at a pace that we just can't even believe over the next several years. And when I go back to when I started in the industry, which was early 1997, the internet was really just becoming a thing, right? We were starting to all get computers at Christmas time and getting our AOL CDs. I know that's aging me a lot in the mail and getting online through a dial-up. And if we had chosen back then to not utilize the internet in our jobs, where would we be today, right? And frankly, some people did. They were slow adopters, late adopters to use of the internet. And I don't know that you have to be right on the bleeding edge of technology, but as change is happening this quickly, I think it's really important that we as talent start to think about how we can leverage those tools. And I've heard a lot of pushback and people not wanting to use certain things for certain reasons, and I understand that.
Mm.
But I want to make sure that people know, hey, we need to know about this stuff. We need to learn it, and we need to leverage it so that we can do more within our jobs. So that's kind of why I'm making it a part of what we focus on at Better Talent today.
And I think that's amazing. And I mean, I think that's a testament to putting the education behind what you do and why you need to do it, right? And change is inevitable, right? We talk about it all the time. And I think where change becomes very scary is whenever you don't understand it, right? And that's kind of an interesting fact with AI, right? Because not only is it helping our jobs, maybe replacing jobs, but it is the education that could provide you with the skills you need, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, staying educated on it is critical. And while there are some courses you could go to universities and get, and those are all great, this thing's moving fast, right? And so if you think about it, talking about ChatGPT and large language models like that, I mean, we weren't even talking about that a little over a year ago, hardly at all, right? And
Not
so
at all.
some people knew they existed or were starting to, but they hadn't rolled out like they are now, and it's changed so fast. It's been mind numbing for some, and so I can understand that. So staying up to date is really critical.
And I feel like when, I talk to, a lot of conversations about, the AI within our software, how I use AI every day. And I have to say, like 50% of people are like having a buy-in of it, and 50% are scared to a point where my sister tells everyone that I'm in a relationship with my chat GPT when I'm like, it is making me more efficient. Like, is there like, I'm like, I don't want to tell, like, I have to make sure someone's like bought into AI before I geek out on AI. What have you seen there?
I've seen exactly that. Some of us are, like you and I are kind of geeking out on it and we talk about it a lot. And then other people are annoyed by it because we won't shut up. Right. And I totally get that as well. I think that it goes back to the whole early adopters versus late adopters. And like I said before, you don't have to be on the bleeding edge of it, but I think it is important to understand what's happening so that you aren't caught off guard. And I like to, use an analogy. I'm not a big superhero movie guy. My daughter is big into it. And if my daughter wants to watch paint dry, I will watch paint dry with her. So I've watched all the Iron Man movies and all that. And when you think about Iron Man relative to the other superheroes, he's the one. Probably an older version of that would be Batman that was like this. They don't have any like superpowers really. All their superpower is the use of technology, right? And so I like to think about that with talent today is that we need to start to utilize these tools and learn how to so we can be like a modern day Iron Man in the roles that we are in. And I will say that in all jobs that are there today, that's going to be the case, but certainly in the vacation rental space, where it's really critical that people that work within this industry are very efficient, very capable individuals. And using that technology, you can be kind of like an Iron Man for those that know what that is. And that is just simply somebody that used technology to be a superhero. So.
And what oddly, one of the first like AI type things I ever used when I started getting into about a year ago was a writing tool called Jarvis, which was Iron
Yep.
Man's name of his suit. And I think they had to rename it to Jasper because of all these rights with Iron Man. But that goes to say, like, so when I started to get into it, right, was hearing a lot of, hiring professionals say, like, ChatGPT is just so important. And to a point saying, like, if they didn't say it in an interview that they had even like looked at ChatGPT or signed in, right? They were looking over that, right? So quickly got into really like Googling what these things were and what I should get into. So let's pivot to how can we make sure we're best leveraging these AI tools in our roles and which ones should you get starting out with if right now you're like, I don't even know where to start. What should I do?
Yeah, well, obviously, a tool like ChatGPT is going to be very, very useful. I actually recently switched from using ChatGPT almost 100% of the time to one called Perplexity. The reason why I like Perplexity is that it actually searches real-time data on the internet. It also gives you the sources where it obtained that information. And then it kind of records all of that so you can even put it into folders, right? And so you can put a research project together and retain that information in a folder in Perplexity. Awesome tool. So you're like, well, how do
That's
you
amazing.
learn how to find those tools, right? There's a number of different ways. There's several different newsletters. Two I really like. One is called Mindstream, and you can sign up for that newsletter. And another one is called The Rundown. And it will, real quickly, Rundown, I think every day does like a 5-minute quick email to you and talks about the new tools that are coming out. And so you can kind of stay up to date on that. But a lot of times we don't even think about how much we use AI. If you use Alexa or something like that, that's AI. If you use Grammarly, there's AI components inside of Grammarly, which is a phenomenal tool for writing. So you don't have to just throw something into Perplexity or ChatGPT and have it write for you. But as you write creatively, utilizing tools that can augment that. But certainly in my case, I am not very good with grammar or spelling. Grammarly is a lifesaver for me. Everything I ever send out goes through that, and it still doesn't catch everything. I'm that bad. So those are the types of tools that you can, or places that you can go to learn about and stay up to date on AI tools. I highly recommend being, signed into a bunch of newsletters. Don't spend a ton of time on it because it's
Right.
not something you have to do every day, but there's new stuff coming out all the time.
Yeah. And that's also like a really great point there, right? Like I think there's such a large spectrum of AI and what it can do for you in the high level. So I think great point, spell check and grammar. My CEO, English is not his first language, right? And so since these things have come out, right, writes his sentiment and what he wants to write, checks it and just make sure those things. And so it's very simple of just kind of, checks and balances, templates, organization. Sometimes I'll take this recording today. I will take the transcript from the recording. I'm going to throw it into my AI, ask it to write up a couple different things. I'm going to go and clean it up, it like checklist, right? And then tell my intern what to do and how to do everything, right? It's kind of just as soon as it ends, I ask it how to organize and create my action items rather than not really saying, go write me a book, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Different levels.
Well, one thing I have been encouraging people to do, and this took me, and I'm going to go back again to the internet and the advent of the internet. And I remember having to, believe it or not, retrain my brain from going to places like an encyclopedia or a dictionary or a newspaper and say, go to Yahoo. And I say Yahoo because Google didn't exist yet, right? And so to do a search, right? And so you were so used to going to offline tools, if you will, to get information that you had to train your brain.
Mm.
And until recently, I had the same thing with chatbots, right? Instead of going to ChatGPT or Perplexity, I would inherently go to Google. Well, I have actually changed on my browser bar. I've got Perplexity and ChatGPT as number one and two. Google's not even on there. I hardly even go to Google anymore
I
because
noticed I
what's
noticed I
that?
did the same thing. I noticed I'm doing the same thing. The other day, somebody said, "Did you just send me something you Googled?" I said, "No, I sent you something that I chat GPT because I realized it was the first thing I did because I have an app on my phone and I can even talk into it."
Yeah, if anybody that's listening has not used the ChatGPT talk, there's a little headphone on the app there. It's incredible. I literally every time I'm in my car, I just open it up and I just start having conversations with it on my way to the next place. And the information that you can get out of it is absolutely amazing. So it's like having, and I say this, if you leverage these tools today, and not just ChatGPT, but a lot of different other tools, you can be the smartest person in any room, right? You have more information at your fingertips so quickly. It's incredible. And yeah, can it be wrong? Of course it can, because there's garbage in, garbage out, and there's stuff in there that's not necessarily spot on. There's, bias, all of that, but it's getting better every single day. All these tools are improving over time. And certainly you can get bad stuff out of Google, right? If you don't
Mhm.
search. Now, when we started using Google, early on, you would do short tail keywords. Like if you were searching for a vacation rental, you might put destination vacation rentals. Over time, we got smarter and we started doing long tail keywords like 6 bedroom vacation rental with a pool and hot tub near Disney
Very
World,
different.
right? And so that's kind of a reprompting, if you will. So there's in AI, there's something called prompt engineering, which is kind of a fancy term for just saying how you ask it to do something, and engineering what you say and expanding on what you say will get you to different results. And so
Mhm.
there's something called prompt reprompt. So you put the initial prompt in and then you reprompt it. And what I've heard people say is like, yeah, I put something in there or I asked it a question and it came back with just information that wasn't good for me. And I said, well, did you reprompt? Did you change the way that you asked the question, restate it so that it might come back with something? No, I didn't think about doing that. I'll tell you what, and I know you know this, Talia, it just changes the game when you do that. You
Mhm.
got to keep prompting and reprompting to get to that really good result.
You do, and you have to sit there for a while. And it's like writing a user story, right? So if we're talking about people in like an organization, working cross-functionally with the sales, a marketing, a tech team, everything, nobody talks the same language, right? So I have a tech person, like, can you upload this image, right? They might call it a screenshot. So you have to like start saying things in different ways to
Yep.
get to the same area. We all used to get in meetings, stand-ups and do it, right? You're just asking it to do the same thing. And that was kind of one thing I was thinking of talking about is like, where can you go find which ones that you need to know and how to write these user stories, right? In there. And it's understanding there's so many different like courses, little things that can like just let you know, like it's just as simple as can you generate an email to do something rather than say, can you come up with an email? Right? You're kind of some of it's just nomenclature. So we're halfway through, and I, want to let everyone know while we're halfway through that if you have any questions that you have for Steve and I while we're on here, start shooting them in here, right? So that we can make sure that we address those as we're going through everything.
Absolutely. So Talia, how do you use AI every day in your job, would you say? What do you use day to day other than ChatGPT, obviously?
Yeah, so I would say so I've started using well, I mainly use ChatGPT, I have to say.
Sure.
And then we use it in our software at Hostiva. So if I were for my main use, right, every day is really kind of like I have to say organizing my day is a big thing, right? So I might go in and say, actually, I talk into it. So I could be dropping my kids off at school and be like, okay, like these are the things I have today, these things I have going on, these are the action items I need to do, and say, can you make me a list of the recaps, actions, and things, and go have it in there. So when I get home, I literally think, I bring it up, right? So, and then a lot of grammar, helping come up with ideas around what my content needs to be, whether it's marketing
Mhm.
or sales. But I also have to say, responding to emails, like, but not just writing an email, responding to email has been one of my biggest like things that I'm using it for now to make sure that I am answering and hitting every point and not just repeating myself
Mhm.
like a template.
Absolutely. And then you mentioned using it inside of Hostiva. What does Hostiva do from a AI perspective?
Yeah, so property management software. So we built AI in here basically, not only to write property titles and descriptions, but to help answer all of the guest messages and communication that comes in and answer reviews based on sentiment that the guest is coming in, reading all the messages that are going in. So I use it mainly, we go look at it, from, corporate level team, right? We're about 60% of our properties are on AI now. So we'll go look in how many work orders have come in, how many have they submitted, how many customers were upset, is there check-in stuff like we're really kind of analyzing every message as it's going through. And at this point, we're kind of at the limitations. So wondering where is AI have a limitation for hospitality and vacation rentals? When does it need to bring the human in? And so right now it's been a lot of data around the workflow management, really of how it would work for an owner operator, and how it could save them time, response times, not having to, someone go just actually say, oh, the toilet's broken, create the work order, go then say, I need to alert, this person in Orange Beach. It's doing all of this for us. So that's been a lot of analyzing that I'm doing, which is kind of completely different from my day to day, but understand my goal is to understand how does it work for my customers, our clients, and us as well, Hostiva.
Absolutely. And so when I think about vacation rentals and I think about the use of AI, there's at some point during your stay or maybe you're going to pick a property, and in the past you would call and maybe do a reservation on a telephone call. But a lot of times people do want to talk to humans, right? And so it's interesting that while we're talking about this, what is the limit and where should we jump in this industry? And I think for me, if I'm staying in a vacation rental and I would just have a basic question, I love AI for that, right? And I love that we have all of those tools. But when I have a significant problem, I want to talk to a human.
Right.
So I think it gives us that opportunity to not have as much of that within those businesses. But when we do it at the highest level, right?
Mhm.
And have what AI can't have, and that's empathy for those guests, right? And I know when running a vacation rental company for 20 years, we would get overwhelmed with guest interactions. I think right now with tools that what these do for us and tools like Hostiva, it actually opens up capacity with it from a human perspective to do a better job. Would you say that's true?
Right. Right. It opens you up more capacity and gives you more time, right, to be able to see these things and like it's just giving you a greater workflow.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's really kind of expanding the reach of people and how they can embrace the job, get more stuff done at the same time, right? And so the point where you said like tone, right? One thing I've always heard is that people sentiment. So you're like when you want to talk to AI and when not. You're right. Like if I want to check in out early or do something simple, I really don't want to talk to a human. I want to make it very simple. If I want to know where the towels or how to use the stove, I don't want to interrupt somebody at 9 o'clock at night. But there are other things. So we actually are training the AI to read the sentiment. And you think all the time, like there's no tone in text message, there's no tone in Slack. Maybe AI is actually reading some of this tone and sentiment a little better than a human or training that person, right? So it's
Hmm.
giving your team a little less anxiety when answering some of these messages. And I think we do see now a lot of people are hiring talent in different countries, right? So there's different personalities. So helping or understanding just the work ethic or just the, the culture, right? So it's you don't have to cutting down some of that education.
Absolutely. Where do you think that we are not using enough technology that where we were, tomorrow? Where is this gonna go? I guess is what I would be curious.
What I would say in the vacation rental space, right? And I could feel a lot of people being like, maybe thinking wrong, right? I don't know if we're using enough of what AI can do to read and understand the data. Does that make
It,
sense?
absolutely. Yeah.
I think our industry as a whole, right? We want more people and we want more time, is one thing we've been saying, but we want more data and we want to understand what's going on. And I think we're trying, right? That's in there, but it's not been exposed in a way, I think, to the overall crowd, to see how can we leverage that.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that. One thing I wanted to mention on the educational side of this and kind of where you would go to find information. Some people just like want to have the basic understanding of what artificial intelligence is, what it can do, the different types of AI. And one place I like is AI Forum Hub, and it's
Mhm.
aiforumhub.com. Code Academy also has a class on artificial intelligence, and it's really inexpensive, and it can kind of give you the basics and really get into the granular if you really want to nerd out on it. So those are two really cool places that you can learn. I just thought of wanted to add that in.
That's awesome. I will definitely take all these links. AI is going to take all these links and add them into here so that everyone can share with it after. So, question I
Beautiful.
have for you, in the vacation rental space right now, right? What do you think are the top jobs that people should be utilizing AI more or doing more continuing education so that they can level up? Because if we go through LinkedIn right now, there's a lot of open to work jobs, but there's just, in general, and a lot of open jobs.
Yep, absolutely. So marketing, if you're not using AI in marketing today, you're going to get left behind pretty quickly. So any of the marketing related jobs, whether that's SEO, PPC, social media, email marketing, being able to use marketing automation tools is critical. And there are a lot of industry specific tools that have come out in that regard. Anything with customer service, obviously, like we were saying before, being able to utilize those tools and understand how to build out those tools and work with them so that guests can get the basic information, so that when you do have to talk to them, you're basically answering the real stuff where they really want a human and they need to talk to them. So that's another place. But pretty much any type or any part of the business. Like I think if I was a maintenance tech today and I had an issue and I'm in a property, I'm going to have ChatGPT or Perplexity or something like that at my fingertips so that I can go and ask that question. Like a lot of times we go to, look at YouTube and kind of learn something that way. Well, you can get to information really, really quick with one of these tools. And so it doesn't matter if it's maintenance, it doesn't guest services, reservations, marketing, finance. There's tools that even in finance, you can build spreadsheets with this. And pretty much any job in this industry can be augmented through utilization of AI. There's no question about it.
Yeah, totally. And it's a funny point you say like it's any job. My one of my little sisters goes to college and I have I only have the Chat GPT you pay like $20 a month for. So it's not like it's nothing, not
Right.
crazy, right? And there is a free version. She has her own portal now that she gets in to do research sometimes because she says it's better than Google, right? So you just go out there and look at it. No matter who you are, like what job you're in there, get a free version of something. Start asking it some questions, man. Ask it, say, I don't know how to use this. Where should I start? It would, you'd be shocked.
And that's I think where I was going with the whole Google analogy and having or Yahoo analogy in my case. I had to learn to go there first, and that's what's been happening for me is like, okay, even 6 months ago, I was not doing that, but more recently, I immediately, if I have a question, that's where I go. And
Mhm.
the amount of information and the knowledge base that comes out of that is incredible and getting better by the day, right? And so going there, learning how to prompt, reprompt, always thinking, I actually call it an AI first mentality, right? Go there first.
Mhm.
I say anybody can be the smartest person in the room if they do that. So
You're using your superpower, right?
exactly.
And we have about 5 minutes. So before we end, want to, kind of talk about this quote that I sent you this morning and just kind of defining how you would even decide how AI would work for you. So I was scrolling through Instagram this morning and as I was about to fold laundry, and the quote I sent Steve says, "I want AI to do the laundry and dishes for me while I do the art and writing, not for AI to do the art and writing where I do the laundry and dishes." And it kind of just like struck something with me because funny thing is I do like doing the laundry, not the dishes, right? But it was the one thing that was define what is work to you, whether or not it's your in your day job or your day-to-day life. And that may be something that's hard for you, it takes a lot of time. And start there, right? Start there and find out if you can find something that AI can help not take over for you, but help you do it.
It makes me think about something that we encourage all leaders to do, in fact, any talent to do, and that is really talk or think through and graph out the things you really love to do that you're passionate about, and then those things that you don't like to do and you're not, so that you can outsource out. Well, if you can outsource that to AI, that's phenomenal. So going back to your Instagram post where talked about the laundry and the dishes, right? You can't always pick what AI is going to do for you. But if you can look at all the things that you don't like to do and then go find the tools that you can replace that so that you can do more of those things and not necessarily leverage AI for that you do love to do. And that's generally going to be things where there's creativity, human empathy, things that AI cannot do.
Mhm.
AI can help with creativity. It can give you prompts and ideas and concepts, but it doesn't create, right? So
Mhm. And one thing kind of popped in my mind thinking of in jobs, one things I never really enjoyed doing, right? That had to do with empathy and people and how could I spin it and get AI to help me in one way. And one thing was I was a manager at a very large company a long time ago, and I had like 30 people underneath me. And
mhm,
I had to do one-on-ones weekly. Like in terms of my job, basically was one-on-ones, right? And now I think the scheduling, coming up with the questions and the
mhm.
recap after my heart is literally racing right now talking about this, like how much it really was hard for me to do. And now I just thought, like, man, like it could have came up the questions, recorded the questions, sent the recap. I mean, like, really transition my life. So think about it. Like, I challenge you to think outside of the box, right? Like, I've had people tell me before, like, I have this way of looking at, that optimistic side of things, right? I feel I'm a salesperson. There's a solution for everything, right? So if you're like AI, there's no way AI could take this over. It can't do this. Well, maybe there is. Like, is there a workaround where it's like, what part of this are you fearful for that it can actually just support you with, right? It's a
Mhm.
supporting tool. But last, this has been great, Steve. So, we're about to end right now, and we could we could go on about this forever. I'm trying to think of, just there's just so much that it can do for you and things it can't, right? Just understanding its limitations. But what would you want to leave our audience with, or anyone who's, has this on their mind today?
Just there's an old book, it's an old business book that I recommend we pick back up, and it's one called Who Moved My Cheese? And it's been around forever. It was one that was literally, I made it mandatory in my company. It really talked about adapting to change, right? It's a short book, it's like 100 pages. You can read it in about an hour and a half. And it's that's where we're at today. The cheese is moving, so to speak, and where you used to find value or provide value might not be as valuable as it was yesterday. And so we need to figure out where that is, and leveraging tools in AI will help facilitate that. And so change is going to happen whether we like it or not. The guys that used to make wagon wheels before the automobile showed up, they went and found new jobs, right? We need to figure out what that is. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to change our job. It just needs to be that we change how we do our job. So thinking like that is really critical in 2024 and beyond.
And I would say, add on to that, it's changing your access to education and how to do things. So if you're at a point in time where, people used to say like, you work, everyone hates their job, just work, do something where you make a lot of money. This doesn't have to be that way, right? It can really
Exactly.
completely change the whole pivot career of where you want to go and what you want to do with things, right? And you let it work for you. So, Steve, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you for joining. I will get all the links, advice that we put in here into an article, and we'll post that out next week for all of our viewers, and on our newsletter. And if anyone has any questions at all, feel free to email me at wegotU@hostiva.com. We have a new email out there so that you have any questions. And I'm sure Steve, if you need him, you know how to find the white hat too, right?
Absolutely. Best place is either steve@bettertalent.com or just check me out on LinkedIn. If you're not already connected, I'd love to be. So,
Absolutely. Same here. Well, have a happy Friday and a wonderful weekend.
all righty. Take care. Thanks, Talia.
Thank you.